Hello everybody, and thanks a million for joining me here again on 100 Days of Code. We're on day 19 today and we're just going to get stuck in. Had a lovely evening watching TV with my dad, so we're getting into this in the evening, which is great, you know, we get our hour done. It's Friday, happy Friday everybody. So going to just continue on with the course. What we were doing last time was building out this new component, a user list, and we were adding users. So we were just going over everything we've done before, and yes, I have an error when I'm trying to set it up here, so let's just see what this error is all about. So if I go to my terminal, this is where I was running it, so I'll just stop this and run it again so you can see what's going on. So we'll do npm start and we'll wait and see what this says now. So the project is just starting up. This will just take a moment for React to get going. And there we go, 3000. Oh right, I was on the wrong port. Okay, cool. So we're actually okay. So let's go and see what's happening. So I'll just close down my terminal here because I can't see nothing. And let's get coding. So we were currently just looking at this users list. And yes, we were adding things into the list, weren't we? So we'll just go with Lilly Code. And make the age 30. And we'll open up our terminal and see what happens when we add this. So yes, so we are getting that being injected in, or at least being console logged out, I should say, and we're not getting it saved in our users list. So let's see why that is and figure that much out. So we did our buttons, yeah. Okay, so looks like I'm just checking out the video now. So okay, so users list, we have that done. Okay, so happy Friday everybody, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I hope you have something nice planned, and if not, get out for a nice little walk on one of the days, even if it's 10 minutes outside, and get some fresh air in if you can. Or yeah, just hope you have a nice time really. So whatever a nice time means to you. So I had a nice time today. I got a fish and chips with my dad, and we started to watch a new series. So we watched an episode of a series, so that was fun. And now we have a new thing to watch together, so very happy with that. And I'm just waiting for this to load here, hence the hearing about my day, because we should be coding, but yeah, all good. So it's just coming up here now. Okay. My internet is like, damn, my internet is killing me. It's another reason why the mornings are better, because my internet's a bit dodgy at the moment, and the mornings it's just not being used as much, I think, because in the evenings. Okay, we're back again. Cool. Damn. Okay, so let's just see where we're at here. So he's looking at our users list component. Yeah. Okay. I think this, who knows, let's just see, keep going here. 5 minutes in, and all you have heard so far is me waffling, so I apologise. But I just wanted to get started because it's late already. It's 9 p.m. Da-na-na. It's late. Okay. Cool. Is this 9? Okay. Shoot. Okay. Okay. Okay, so he's getting into it now. Sorry guys, I'm just catching up here. When I opened up my project, it wasn't on the right video, which it normally is. So then like I just had to listen to him for a moment to get up to where I was currently at. So that's what's going on. So we'll be coding in a moment. Okay, cool. Of course, that's why we couldn't see any users in our list, because we've just passed in an empty array so far. So we need to actually populate this with something and tell it what we do want to come out. So first of all, we'll add things to this array, and then we'll also have an initial state that will pass through to show some sort of a starting state when we're first showing this data. So that's what we're going to do now. Yeah, okay, so we're starting off here in app.js, yeah. Okay, yeah, so we're going to use useState in order to manage the state and to keep a log of these users. So we use useState to do that, to track the state of a particular thing, and our particular thing is going to be at the list of users. So we'll just bring in useState here in order to use it. And then we will declare our constant. Then we'll declare our constant, which is just going to be the list that we define. So we do this in square brackets. And first of all, we have the thing we want to track, which is the users list. And then we have the function to update this. So set users list. So this is just the terminology used in React. We have our useState, which tracks the state of something, and that is our users list. So we want to use state, and this time we're going to be passing in an array, so we can actually declare that like that, and then we can get to using it. So super. Yeah. So now in our users, what we're actually going to pass in here is our users list. So there we go. Yeah, so we also want to pass in our users that we're going to be adding when we use this add user component. So we'll call this on add user. And we need our add user handler where we pass in the things that we want to track. So const add user handler. And this is going to be our username and our user age. And we're going to set the users list here. So then we're going to add them to the users list. And we pass in the previous user list. And then add on the next thing. So So what we're doing here is we're creating a new array by spreading out the previous users, so putting all the previous users into it, and then we also want to add the new user. So it's going to be the name, which is the username that we've just passed into this function, and then also the age, which is the user age that we've passed in, and then we can just do general code maintenance, add in our semicolons because they should be there. Oh, cool. Yeah, so then obviously our user handler is what we pass in. So this is the function that's being called, which is taking the username and the user age, and it's adding it to the set users list, which is the function that we run in order to update the original users list. So you have your thing that you want to track and the function in order to update that thing. So our thing in this case is our array of users, and when we want to update it, we call the set users list, and what we're doing to set it is we're passing in the previous users list, so all the ones that were previously there, and what we're returning is an array that has these previous users lists spread out again. So this is just the spread operator, which goes through them, spreads them all out. You have them there again, and then we're adding on our username and our user age as the new entry to the end of the array. So that's what's going on, and then we pass this add user handler into the on add user, and then in the add user we can access, this is going to be our props, the on add user. So that's what's going on here. So informative. I learned so much from Max, I swear. Like, this all makes so much sense now just from following along with his tutorials. And one thing I will say as well is I've been doing this for 4 years now, so the uptake is a little bit quicker. In the first year this still wouldn't have made sense probably at the end of this tutorial, so you just have to keep on hammering away at it, and eventually it starts to click, honestly guys. So don't be, you know, feeling down on yourselves if this isn't making sense right now, because it comes together eventually, and you just need to keep putting these terms into your brain, keep trying to understand what's going on, keep looking at it, and just keep practicing it, and eventually it will. Like, it's only starting to make proper sense and really putting things together in the last year, I'd say. Like, the first 3 years there was so many moments of what is going on, but then things click along the way as well, which gives you your motivation to keep going. So if you're in a stage where nothing is clicking, just keep on going. This skill is so valuable to learn, so you can do it, guys. You can do it, and with my help we will get you there. So yes, you can do it. Stay tuned for more informative tutorials rather than me just coding, but I hope you are learning something and you can do it. So yeah, with that, let's keep going. Yeah, so now in our add user component we actually use this. Yeah, so now instead of console logging down here, what we'll actually do is pass in our props. So say props dot on add user, like this. Yeah, and we execute it as a function, and we pass in the things that we want to pass into this function, which is our entered username, because that's what we call them in this component, and then our entered age. So there you go. Oh, holy Moses, guys. I've been here laughing and having great crack with myself and all, and going through this for ages, and it wasn't recording. Pardon my blah la 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 la. Let's just keep going because that's what we do. Let's keep going. Felt like there was some comedy genius in there, but I had the hour done anyway, so we'll just keep on going. Okay, so what have I done so far? Let's do a recap, because you missed loads of that, and loads of that was very useful. So we're going to go back in time. Where did I even go? So what we have done in this lecture so far. Oi, 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 you probably didn't get any of the error model. Right, so I think we're going to start back at the error model. The hair has to go up, so we're going to do that. So let's just get stuck in here now. This has to be done quick. We've been messing about all day, so we're going to go now. Well, we weren't messing, we were coding, and sure, I wasn't recording anything, so let's just keep going. Okay, so do you know what I'm going to do, guys? Just to make sure that I capture everything that's happened, which hasn't been loads. Well, we got somewhere, but anyway, I'm going to get rid of this error model class because that's probably as far as we got, and just keep going. So let's just delete all that and let's go. We're going to have some errors, that's okay. So here's our error model defined, and then we were using it in our add user. So I'll also just get rid of the changes in here. Oh, it's painful, but it's for the greater good. I can't be heading on down the line and not explaining to you guys what it is I'm doing. So okay, Maximilian, I messed up. Okay, so Genie Macarini Weenie Bellini. Okay, so what we were doing was we were declaring our error model component. So in order to declare a component, we just do, so what our error model is going to do is pop up and display an error if there's an error. So in order to define this error model component, we just define it like we would any other React component, and then we're going to give it the functionality to behave like a model and pop up over our screen with an error message. So we will import React from React, and that should be a capital and that should be a small. So that's okay. And then we will also import the styles that we're using in a module fashion. So we import and give this a name, styles from, and this is going to be from error model.module.css, which means we can use our styles with the object notation, and then styles, because that's what we've called it here, and then dot the classes that are in that module file, our error.module.module.css. So then we just give our class name here, our React class name. So this is going to be error model, and then we add in our props, and then we open up our function call like this, because this is how we declare a component in React, and then you return something. So what you want to send back out, you have your brackets opened and you have your top level div. So I'm just going to open up a fragment here, just so we have some top level item that we can then add our stuff into, and then I'm going to return error model so we can use this elsewhere in our code. Default, export, excuse me, not return, export. So export default error model, and we'll add our semicolon, and we're getting somewhere. So let's just reload. Okay, okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do, that we're passing in our props, is we're just going to define what it is we want our error model to be. So we're going to wrap this in the card component, and that's just for aesthetically pleasing, an aesthetically pleasing component, because all our card does is, and we haven't imported it so we can't click through and look at it, so if we import it then we'll be able to have a look. So we do import card, from, and it is within this same folder because we're in our UI folder, so we just import card just like that. And now we should be able to click through and you'll see that our card is literally just returning the children, so whatever we've passed into that card, and it's just giving it a bit of styling, and the styling is just a rounded edge. So anything we wrap in this card is just going to have rounded edges around it, so it's just a styling component that we've created, which is great because we have this one component, a card, and everything we wrap in this card, it just looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I really like that setup from Max. It's a great approach. So then we're back in our error model here, and we're just going to define this. So what we want is a header. We want a H2 in here, so this is the title. Well, we'll leave a H3 because, you know, the universe made it so. We'll add, or my slipped finger made it so, I guess it did, with a P tag. And this is going to be our paragraph, and then we just have a footer. And in here we're going to add our button component, which we created, which we can add in some text. So we'll import our button also because we're using that component in here. So button as we are card and from, and it's also within our styles or UI folder because it's also a user interface thing. So there we go, and now that button should work. So in here in our header, what we're going to pass in is our props that are coming in, which means when we are using this error modal, when we're declaring it, we'll pass in the props that we want to use. So we want to have a title, a message, that's all we want. So we can open up our curly parenthesis here, and we just do props.title. And then we will call the thing that we pass in our title when we pass it in. And then we have our props. I did a lot of singing today, you guys. I'll sing again. I should just sing a song. No, like, I don't know, but I don't know. I'll have to sing some more songs for you. You're probably like, please don't sing any more songs. But yeah, it was paused. So class name, now we're going to pass in these class names that we've declared elsewhere. So that's going to be classes.modal, and these are just, so we've actually called it styles here, we haven't called it classes, so I've named that incorrectly. It's not going to be able to find classes. We've called it styles, so I pass in styles instead. And then within our error modal we have this class called modal. So there's the modal class, there's our header class. So we can use these classes now in this fashion because it's a dot module. So then you import your styles or your classes or whatever you'd like to call it from your error modal or your dot module.css class. You need to add this dot module to use it in this fashion, and then you can use your name that you gave it and dot the class names that are in your CSS file. So that's what's going on there. So we have a class name on the card, we have one on the header, we have one on the div, and we have one on the footer. So we'll do that. So let's go to the header. This one's going to be content. This is going to be actions. Cool. I just poured water all over myself because I was like conscious that you guys could see me just drinking water. So cool. So then in our add user component we're going to actually use this modal, which we've already done. There we go. So we've passed in static titles here. So we have the static word of hello, close me, and okay, which is exactly what we can see here. And we haven't added any functionality on close. So when we click the button, or we haven't added any functionality on clicking the button, which we want to add, get rid of this modal, close away this component. So we'll add that as well. and we'll just continue for the time being. Okay. Yeah, so then in this top level div, we're going to add our class name, and our class name is just going to be our backdrop here. That should be in our error model. So this is actually going onto our error model. Yes. Yes, so here we want another higher level div to add this class name to. And then we'll just cut this and move that down because we want it to wrap our entire model. Save. Yeah. Class name. Oh yeah, sorry. So there should be styles. And then if we save that, error model line 9. So there's our div. Error model, backdrop is definitely class. And we have our error model. This is just a JSX fragment, so that's fine. That's being closed there. We have our div, our card, styles.backdrop. Save that again. Okay. So there we go. So the reason we added this backdrop is, right, before we had the backdrop on, so we'll just take this off for a moment and show you and save. Before we had the backdrop, we could still interact with things behind here, which we don't really want. We want them to dismiss the modal, which we still need to add a dismiss function when we click this button, which we will do, but we don't want them to be able to interact with the background until they have actually dismissed the modal. So by adding this class name, and what this class name contains, if we go and look at it in the styles, is it has a position, so it's just fixed. We want it to be top left, so stuck right to the top, right to the left, position 0, which is all the way, width of 100, height of 100, so we want it to cover the whole screen. That's what we're saying there. And then the Z index, what the Z index controls is the location on the screen, how far back it goes. That's the Z index, right? So by having a Z index of 10, we're putting it above all the content behind, and we've just put a black wash screen, or this color, practically black. Yeah, so it's like, it's the color black 000 with some sort of transparency on it. So it's not totally black, it's a bit transparent. It's 15% transparent, 25% transparent. It's 25% transparent and is 75% black. So now we can see that working. So, well, let's just check. Is it 25% transparent or is it 75% transparent? So if this is 25, does it get lighter or darker? Okay, it gets lighter. So yes, so with 75, we're saying only show it at 75% transparency. So we want it to be black, but 25% transparent. So that's what we've done there. So if we save that, now because of the Z index, that's lying on top of the components behind. And when we click here, we're just clicking on a black screen because the black is covering, because of the Z index, it's overneath. It's over the elements that are behind it. So that's what that Z index is doing, and that's what this backdrop class is doing. So now once we add this OK and we dismiss this, it'll be Sing the modal, and it'll dismiss the background because the background is part of the modal, and then we can interact with the things underneath once we've made the user read our message and click it to confirm that they've seen this modal. So that's what's going on. So now what we want to do is actually use this in our add user. So we're using it here with our error modal, and we want to pass in specific messages to this error modal rather than just this generic message that we're passing in. We want to pass in specific messages. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new useState object which we will track the state of the error. So we'll call this error and set error, and this is going to be useState, which is a function, like so. And then now we have the error that we can track if the error is on or off, and we can set it with this set error, so that changes the value of that error. So now what we want to do is if entered username dot trim dot length is equal to 0. So what that means is dot trim takes away all the white space. So if we just put in space 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 and then run dot trim on that, that takes out any white space. So the white space will all just be converted to nothing. So, and then it'll say, well, what's dot length of the entered username? If it had have been all spaces, it will be nothing. So is it equal to nothing? Yes. So it's going to come into this code block and just return back out. What we want to do instead is set this error object. So we'll literally set error, pass in the object, and we want to pass in the title, which we will say invalid entry, and the message, which is please enter a valid username. Or age. And the reason why we put in or age is because this is an or condition in this if block. So it's saying if the entered username is nothing, or if the entered age is nothing. So that's what this is checking for here. So if either of these are empty, it's going to come into this code block. So when you're going through code executes line by line. So it starts at the top, it declares this add user component, then you're declaring your different use states that you're tracking the state of things. Then it comes in here and it just declares this function. This actually isn't run yet because this is just a function declaration, and where this function is being run is down here in our code. So on submit, that's where we call this add user handler. So once we've selected submit, we run this particular function, and what this function is takes in the event or the key presses that are entered when we type something into one of those input boxes, because that's how we've set it up. And then we're going to come in here and run line by line. So once it hits this if block, it checks if the entered username dot trim dot length is definitely 0. So basically if it's definitely 0, we haven't entered anything, or we've just entered white space, because that's what this bit is looking after. And then or if the age is also nothing, then we come in here and we're going to set the error to this title and this message. And we're going to do the same for if the age is below 1, because no babies allowed on my form. Just so happens to be that that's how I've set it up. So we'll come down here and we'll say please enter a valid age. Greater than 0. Yeah, so now whenever we've come through here, our errors have been set by the set error. Our error has been set by the set error function. So now our error, if it's come in here, will hold this title and this message in this component. So rather than just spitting out a generic string, we can use that object which holds these values for our error. So in order to do that, you pass in the object, the curly brackets like this instead, and then we're going to go props or error, sorry, because we call it error.title and error.message. So, and we didn't use our button this time because I just added a button last time for my own messing about, but I've just not done that this time, so that doesn't matter, that's fine. Then if we reload this, cannot read property undefined reading title. So So first of all we want to check. Okay, yeah, so first of all we just want to check that we actually have an error. So we can do this. So if we have an error, and which says if we have an error then display this thing. So we were just getting that error because we didn't actually have the previous error, because we hadn't got an error, so it was erroring because it was expecting to find an error. It couldn't find error.title because we hadn't yet set it. So we just check first if we have an error, and if that is the case, so if there's an error, then we're going to display this piece of code. So now if we add user, we should see our message for having both of these blank, which was please enter a valid username or age. And that should really be and age. No, it should be or, because we did use an or block. So okay, so we'll add user. Working for a second time, did it on the first time. Anyway, we're here. So yeah, so now we have our specific message, please enter a valid username or age. And we still don't have our onClose function set up when we click this button to tell this to go away yet. So I'll just reload so we can check if we put in an invalid age. So I'll say 0, and this should, instead of coming into this first block, so it's going line by line, it sees, oh, there is a username on submit. The length is greater than 0, so that's fine. We're actually going to just skip this, and then it's going to come down here, because that's how it goes, line by line. If this isn't true, it won't come in here and set anything. So then it just pops down to here instead, and then it runs this and checks if this is true. So if the entered age is less than 1, which it is, we've put in 0, so this is the message we should see being set now. And it is. So we're working, we're grooving, we're moving. Let's keep going. Okay. Cool. Yes. Yeah, so the way that this modal is being displayed at the moment is if this error, if we have an error. So we need to reset this error to be falsy rather than truthy, and then this error won't display anymore. So what we're going to do in order to achieve that is to declare another function. It's going to be const error handler. And this is a function. And our function is going to be just setting that error, yeah, to null. So we literally just go set error, which is our set error function that we have with our useState. We have our variable and then set the variable. So we're going to set the error to null. And this just sets it back, clean slate. And we should be able to close that out now once we actually pass that through as well. So we go back to our error modal. And here on the backdrop we're going to add it on click. and it'll be props on confirm. And we're going to do the same. So this is for if we click the backdrop or if we click the button. So we'll add it in both places. Yeah, so now we just need to add this back to our error model to link it all up. So not here, where we're actually using the error model, which was in our add user. So here we're going to add our onClick function. And our onClick function was called, or onConfirm, wasn't it? OnConfirm. And we just want to pass in our error handler. Okay. So now when we click on the backdrop or the button, we run this error handler function, and that sets the error to null. And in our error model, we have our onConfirm function, which is being passed through on the declaration. So here we go. So now if we click OK, it goes away. If we click OK, it goes away. So there we go. So great. So now if I add this, we should get our error message. That's okay. Let's just check that clicking our backdrop works, and then I'll add a valid age of 30 and we get it added to our list. So we're flying, guys. That's great. And that's so interesting. My phone just went on bedtime mode because, like, this is my bedtime. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. So my phone just went on my bedtime mode and the screen has gone grey, but it's not being reflected in the video. Wow. I'm looking at myself in black and white up here, but not here. Wow. That's crazy. Anyway, it's not that crazy. Awesome. Yeah. So Max is just saying now we've used everything, right? So we've recapped over everything in this. So it's really great. What we've looked at is covered everything. We used all the core features that we've learned so far in the course. We're on chapter 8 and this goes to chapter 30. So that's insane. So we used useState, lifting the state up, use the styling. We passed functions around. Yeah, loads of core concepts have been revisited during this smaller user list component. It was great practice, Max. Thank you. Yay. Awesome. Okay. We're prepared. Let's continue. So now Max is just telling us what's coming up next. Yeah. So now we're looking at fragments, portals and refs, which I don't know anything about, so that's exciting. Let's find out what they're. Fragments. Okay, so I do know about fragments. These are our fragments. Okay, yeah, so that's literally the fragment he's talking about. Okay, Max, thanks. Cool. So he's just waffling. Not waffling, Max never waffles, but he's speaking, so give us a moment till I find out where we're at and what we should be doing. Yeah. So just watching the video, guys. He's just going through some concepts and just talking about what I've already told you about the way can't have many root elements. You need to have one root element, which is why you wrap everything in one root. So it could be a div or it could be a fragment. I'm going to just skip this because this is all okay. We've learned that as we've gone. So, okay. We got you, Max. You just said, what if we use a dirty little trick? So we're going to create a new folder. Max is the best. And we'll call this helpers. Excuse me. Yawn. It's past my bedtime. Why would you do that though? Okay, I don't know why we would do this, to be honest, but this is what Max is doing, and he always explains things well, and he always has a good idea for doing them. So we're going to just create a wrapper file here, .js, and all this is going to be is just, wait until they say, it's just going to pass out the children. So we don't even need to import React from React because we don't need to do that anymore in the later React versions. We're just doing that for visual ease because you're going to see it in other projects, so just to get used to seeing it, but we don't actually need it in this version of React, but it can still be there, so that's okay. Then we're just going to return props.children, and then we just need to export this so we can use it elsewhere. Wrapper. And then we're going to use this wrapper component as our top level fragment, when we could have just used a fragment, but Max always has good cause for doing everything. He probably just wants to show us this. So, and we need to import this. So now we just import, and we're going to go out up a folder because this is now in a new folder, so we need to go out. So we import wrapper from, and then put in our path. And our path is going to be up in helpers. So that's why we do the 2 slashes, and then we can get it from wrapper. And now, yeah, nothing's changed, and we just did that, but I'm sure Max will tell us why. Cool. Right, so here's the benefit, guys. The benefit of doing it like this is this doesn't get shown in the DOM, whereas a div will get shown in the DOM. So when you're inspecting your code and you're looking through the DOM, the document object model, which is showing you all of the elements on your page, you won't see a div in your DOM if you use it like this with the wrapper. So that's a benefit, because you're not just adding loads of things to the DOM, it goes unseen. So that's the benefit. So I can show you that. So now if we inspect, excuse me, sorry. So now if we inspect this and go to our elements up here, you can see we have our div, and this div is coming from our card component. So that's this div, and then we have another div and this div, but these are, we still don't see the wrapper component or an extra div. These divs are coming from elsewhere. So this div is coming from here, you know, they're not coming from where we put in that wrapper. What? Okay, cool. So we can use the fragments, which is what we have already seen. And you know what? I need to get another extension here where it just changes both divs, because this just keeps happening, and let's fix it. So we'll say auto change tag. Here we go, auto rename tag, and we will install this. I'll just show you what it is first. So basically what this does is whenever you change one of your tags, it'll change the other. So we need this. We've been changing loads of tags and it's not changing it automatically. So look, let's see what this does here. So it just automatically changes the other tags. So we don't need to go, we wouldn't have this problem. That would have automatically just done that for us. So we'll install this extension. Check out my extensions video if you want to know about some common extensions you should install. I think this is one of the ones I recommended, so why I don't have it, that's a different game altogether. But now if we just put wrapper back and delete it, it does it in unison. So another way to declare a fragment, this is a fragment, this will work for your top level root, your root component, or your root tag that's being declared. This is just a top level root tag that's containing all the other ones. But you can also do it like this and do react.fragment, and this is just doing the same thing. So there you go, guys. And yeah, now we have this warning, wrapper is defined but never used, because we defined it and we never used it. So we can just get rid of that, and that warning will go away now when we reload our page. So there you go, super duper. And let's keep going. So feels like I've been coding for ages today, because I have, my video is on 2 hours, but we're actually only on 54 minutes. But thank you for joining me, guys. If people are watching like this long, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for the support. And I really do hope you're learning something, and please do like and subscribe to my channel, because you know that's just great. But look, I just appreciate anybody watching this. This is so great, and I just hope you're getting something from it. And do stay tuned for my more informative videos where I talk through concepts, and it's not just my own learning that I'm explaining out loud, which I think you can also get things from. So but the other videos are more focused learning. And look, thanks so much, guys. If anyone is actually listening to this, it's great. Love it. Thank you. So we're still watching the video here. Just changing my seating. Cross legs is being called for. So he's explaining some great stuff here. Max is amazing. I love you, Max. You're the best. This guy taught me how to code, like, and many others, you know. I've heard the same feedback from so many people, so check this guy out, guys. He just is so friendly and nice and funny. Like, he makes me laugh, you know, throughout the videos, and he just explains things so well. He's such a good understanding of how the DOM works, how things work, how everything works. So yeah. And my whole idea, like, putting out these videos and getting my own content out there, was because I felt when I was starting there wasn't someone that sort of explained things from the bare bones, do you know? Like, when I'm trying to do videos, I'm trying to start from the very beginning, because I remember people would just start coding and I was like I couldn't even get the project to run in the beginning, and I was like, I can't do this, like, you know. So my idea was, like, to start doing videos now with 4 years experience, which is still close enough. I still remember scrambling around trying to get this stuff to work, and I just felt like there was a gap there for people that knew very little, you know. So to try and help people that knew very little come on board and talk through the concepts in the best way I could, in the language I've learned up until now, and not like the fancy schmancy language that's, you know, more advanced, and just to try and speak through it in a terminology that people would understand and in a way that everyone would understand. So that's my prerogative here. Okay. So a better approach for the backdrop is to do it like this. So we have our error model, and what we're going to do is in here, up here, declare const backdrop equals props. And then this is just a function definition, same old, and in here we're going to return this div up here, and then we're going to have another const. So I just need to close off that tag, and then that should be alright, baby. 'Cause it's alright, honey. Anything you do, that should be okay. Or is what's it gonna do? So I'm just going to watch this for a moment because I don't actually know what he's doing. So the hour is just up though. yeah, you know what, I'm going to continue this tomorrow because it's past my bedtime. It's nearly 11 p.m. and I still have to get this up on YouTube, which takes a while. So amen, it's Friday, although that's why me and my dad watched TV today, because it is Friday. So, and I had our little chipper. So yes, thanks so much for